Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You. And today, I just want to talk a little bit about sugar addiction. I know I harp on that subject over and over again all the time because I do feel like this is truly an epidemic in our society. So I want to have a conversation about whether you think you are or you are not a sugar addict. And we're going to take a little quiz to find out. My name is Karen Sammer. I am the founder of Your Power, Your Health, Nutrition and Health Coaching. And I am a board certified health and wellness coach. I help people who are overweight and pre-diabetic to crush cravings so that they can lose the weight and avoid a lifetime of medication for diabetes and all of the complications that come along with not only the diabetes, but the medication. So let's get right to it. Sugar addiction is very similar to a drug addiction, although I'm sure that there are people who say that that isn't the case, that drug addiction is much worse. Well, I would venture to say that sugar addiction may actually be harder to eliminate from your life. And the reason I say that is because sugar appears in everything. Any food that you buy in a store that is processed probably has some form of sugar in it, whether it's for taste, whether it's for preservative purposes, whether it's for mouthfeel, whatever it is. There's a sweetness to it, whether you taste it or not, and it causes it to be addictive. And so a lot of these processed foods that you keep going back for and you keep having urges for are designed that way so that you will keep coming back. Because if you didn't keep coming back, the companies wouldn't stay in business. So that's important to note, is that you know that these foods are designed for repeat performances. And as long as you keep going back to satisfy those urges, you're going to continue to have them. So let's get right into the quiz. So here's number one. Do you find yourself craving sugary foods or drinks even when you're not hungry? So it's either a yes or a no. All of these questions are either yes or no. So I encourage you to take down your answers, whether you write down the questions or not, but just write down your answers because we'll score it at the end and you'll see what the results of your quiz are. Number two, do you often eat sugary foods until you feel overly full or sick? That's yes or no. Number three, do you have difficulty stopping yourself from overeating sugary foods? Now, if any of these things resonate with you, I urge you to really kind of explore that feeling and that the idea that these questions are resonating with you, maybe uncomfortably so. Number four, do you experience withdrawal symptoms like headaches, fatigue, or irritability when you go too long without sugar? That's when you go through withdrawal. It seriously does cause withdrawal symptoms when you are going through, when your body is starting to, your blood sugar is dropping, and you are, you become irritable, you become hangry, hangry is that hunger, anger feeling. And you just need something to satisfy that, to make that go away. And so that, that's when your blood sugar is unstable. When you have that crash, you first of all, you have that huge euphoric climb, and then you crash. So it's constantly like if you think of a graph, it's up and down and up and down, and here's equilibrium. And so you're constantly going between euphoria and needing some more sugar. Number five, do you hide or sneak sugary foods from others? Now, there are a lot of people who are closet eaters or midnight prowlers. I was a midnight prowler myself. And it's important to know that about yourself. So if you were somebody who was hiding your food, you might want to consider that there might be an issue there. Number six, do you feel guilty or ashamed after consuming large amounts of sugar? Number seven, have you tried to cut back on sugar but found it extremely difficult? Sugar's a drug, and sometimes without help you can't do it, or you have a very difficult time doing it. I don't want to ever say you can't. I shouldn't have erased that part. You can always do it. It just takes a lot of effort, a lot of conviction, and if you don't understand how to actually make it happen easier for yourself, it can be kind of miserable. Number 8, does your sugar consumption interfere with other aspects of your life, like work, relationships, or health? Number 9, do you find yourself eating sugary foods even when you're not particularly enjoying them? Number 10, do you need to consume more and more sugar to get the same pleasurable effects? Do you see a theme here? Drug addicts have to consume more and more in order to get that same high. They may not enjoy taking the drugs, but they know without them they would be really miserable. That was when I was a cigarette smoker. I used to be like that. I didn't like this feeling of smoking. I didn't like how it tasted. I didn't like how it made me feel. But I didn't like how I felt without the cigarettes. So I managed to, quit. I quit many years ago, and it was painful. But once I quit, I felt so much better. Same with sugar. Once I quit eating all that processed sugar, I felt so much better. And number 11, have friends or family express concern about your sugar intake. So don't overthink these questions. Just yes or no. They're all yes or no questions. So either they are or they're not. It's pretty black and white. Then when you score it, I want you to give yourself 1 point for every yes answer. And then here's the score. If you have from 0 to 2 points, you're probably okay. You probably are not sugar addicted. You don't have a major issue. If you have 3 or 4 points, you may have a moderate sugar addiction, and you certainly should consider thinking about fixing that so that it doesn't become worse, because anything over 4 indicates that your relationship with sugar may be unhealthy, and you should either seek help or power through it on your own. But my recommendation is that you find someone that can help you to take the steps that you need to take to overcome the addiction. And like I said, I've done this myself. I was back in 2010, I decided in 2009, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then after that diagnosis, throughout the year that I was treated, I decided to eliminate processed sugar from my life as a first step in getting healthy so that I never had to deal with this again. Because sugar is a very big contributor to cancer cell growth, just so you know, especially processed sugar. So I was able to eliminate processed sugar from my life, and it changed my life in amazing ways. And in the process of doing that, I figured out how to do it effectively so that I did not suffer from cravings. I wasn't prowling around the kitchen in the middle of the night or late at night when everybody else went to bed. And I was able to get control of what I ate instead of what I was eating controlling me, or the food controlling me. And it was just an amazing transformation. And that's what I'm so passionate about helping other people do that, because if you can do that, you can control everything that goes into your mouth. And you can choose the right foods, and the healthy foods start to really taste good to you. Because as long as you're eating all of that sugar and all of that processed food, your taste buds are kind of dull. They're dulled down, they're numb. Numb is not the right word, but they're dulled down because of all the chemicals and all of the stuff that is in the food that you're eating. And so it is, when you start eating healthy, whole, unprocessed, natural foods, your taste buds start to change. And those foods actually become first palatable and then very good. They taste very good. And there's all sorts of things that you can do to food to make it so that it's interesting and flavorful. There's all kinds of spices and herbs sauces that are healthy that you can use. And it's really it's a great experiment to figure out how to use spices and how to use things that are going to really fancy up your food so that it tastes good. So I would encourage you to take this quiz, do some serious introspection, and be honest with yourself about whether or not you have a healthy or unhealthy relationship with sugar or food in general, but specifically sugar. Because sugar, refined carbohydrates are kind of all the same thing. They are the things that cause all sorts of issues. They cause inflammation in your body. I mean, I've beaten this drum to death, but I'm going to continue to do so. They cause disease states because inflammation is the basis for many diseases, including heart disease, cancer, diabetes, dementia. Dementia is now called type 3 diabetes. And that's because the blood flow in your brain is compromised because of the sugar that you've been eating. And it causes the plaques in the plaques that cause dementia and Alzheimer's. It causes them to develop in your brain, or it certainly contributes to their development. And also, when you're eating a lot of sugar, you're probably not getting the proper nutrients that you also need, the good nutrients that you need. So you're replacing them with all the junk. And that's causing you to have all sorts of other issues. But, sugar feeds cancer. It feeds heart disease. It feeds diabetes. Diabetes can contribute to heart disease. It can cause stroke. It can cause cardiovascular disease. It can cause, like I said, type 3 diabetes or dementia, which is something the thought of losing my mind as I get older, I just could not imagine what that must be like. And I've seen a lot of it. I've seen a lot of it in my family. But I don't have to be a product of my genes. I don't have to be, and neither do you. You do not have to succumb to the genetic predisposition that you may have been gifted. If you're aware of it, you can take steps to avoid it or at least slow its progression. And I would say actually avoid it. If you can take the steps early enough before the onset of a disease, then you could stop it in its tracks. You don't have to flip that genetic switch to make it happen. That's a pretty powerful thing, that you have control over that. Isn't it nicer to have control over it than to say, oh my gosh, it's in my genes, I can't do anything about it? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can do something about your genetic predisposition to certain illnesses. You take steps, you give your body what it needs to do its job. Your body's only job on this planet is to survive. So if you give it the tools that it needs, it will do what it needs to do. Isn't it nicer to be in control of that than it is to be somebody who has to succumb to something that you feel you have no control over? I'd rather be a victor than a victim. And even if I do develop whatever that condition is, I know I've done everything I can to stop it. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. There's a bigger plan. And, I'm not going to get religious but my position is that there's, just something much bigger than us running the show. Whatever you want to call that, whether it's spirit or God or universe or your inner wisdom, it is bigger than us. And we're all united, we're all together, we're all connected, we're all stardust, all of those things. But I much prefer to do what I can to control my outcome however I can, the outcome of my life. Now, I cannot necessarily influence outside stimuli, but what I can do is I can influence the way I react to them, respond to them, behave as a result of them. I can control me. I can control the way I think. I can control what I do. I can control how I act or react or behave. I can control all of that stuff. So any influence that I can have on my outcomes, on the outcomes in my life, I will do the best I can to have the best outcome. Now, there are certain influences that I have no control over. I can't control what's in the soil. I can control what I eat from the soil. I can't control what's in the water, but I can filter the water as best I can. I can't control what you think of me, but I can control what I think of me, and I can control what I think of you, and I can control what I think of everything. Now, crazy thoughts may enter your head, or unsavory thoughts, unfavorable thoughts may enter your head. But you don't have to believe everything that enters your head. With a discerning eye, you decide what you consider true and what's not, and you toss the rest aside. And you can have a view of negativity, or you can have a view of positivity. And whatever your view is, that's what you're going to see more of. So if you think that you can find a better way to eat and therefore have an influence on your outcome, you will find evidence of that. If you think you can find a better way to live, healthier lifestyle choices, healthier relationships, healthier body movements, all of those things, you're going to find evidence of that. At the same time, if you decide that you can't do anything because your fate is etched in stone, you'll find evidence of that too, and it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you're going to take the steps to make that happen, or take no steps and make that happen. Now, which position would you rather be in? Would you rather be the one that is running the show as much as you possibly can to make sure that your body is tended to the best way it can be tended to? Or do you want to just throw up your hands and say it's going to happen no matter what and do nothing about it? And then it does happen no matter what, because at some point there is a point of no return at some point. My preference is to do as much as I can to prevent, or at least push it off as long as possible. We're all going to die. Nobody gets off this planet alive. We're all going to die. But wouldn't you rather die having lived a full and productive and happy life? Or would you rather die in a hospital bed, withering away? This is my choice. So I encourage you to look at the results of this quiz if you decided to take it. And if you find yourself in the danger zone, take steps to reverse that trend. And if you need help, I'm here for you. I offer a free consultation to anyone who's interested. Go to my website, yourpoweryourhealth.com/book, and you can schedule a session with me. You get an hour. We talk about everything that you want to talk about. We talk about where you are. We talk about where you want to be. And we lay out the steps to get you there. If you decide that you can't live without me and you want more of me, we can work together. And we can figure out what works best for you. Sound like a deal? I mean, it's a no strings attached call. You get plenty of information to get you started on your healthy path. Sometimes you do need that help. You need the help of somebody who's been there. Somebody who knows what it feels like. Somebody who's had the setbacks and come out the other side. Somebody who has figured it out and has lived the life. That's what you need the help with. You don't need some tiny little thing who's never had to lose an ounce in her life telling you how to eat. She may know how to do it, but she doesn't have your lived experience. She doesn't have the frustrations of being overweight most of your life. I know how that feels. So, with that being said, go to my website. Check out the recipes. Check out the blog. Check out all kinds of stuff on there. And sign up for a free consultation. I don't think you'll regret it. I know you won't. I know you'll be happy that you did it. And go off and have a good life. Have a good day. This is Karen Sammer. And this has been Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You. Talk to you next time. Freedom, freedom.